Episode 4, New Lawyers. What car should I drive and should I learn how to golf? Hi, my name is Alex Lao.
I'm Raquel Lao.
This is the Lao Law Firm podcast where we discuss legal issues as well as non-legal issues. We are both lawyers located in Tampa Bay, Florida, but we practice in all counties in the state of Florida, from the Panhandle down all the way down to Miami. Let me give you a little bit of the background of me. I was admitted to the practice of law in Florida in 1999 and have been practicing law for the past 25 years. I'm old. I'm also board certified in civil trial. I've experience recognized by the Florida Bar in trying cases such as car crashes.
And I've been practicing since 2008. Been doing personal injury cases, wrongful death cases since 2008. I'm not as old. Our practice, Lao Law Firm, focuses on cases where a person was injured. We represent the plaintiffs. We do not represent the persons that have caused the accident.
And today we're talking about, so you're a new lawyer, what type of car should I drive and should I learn how to play golf? Let's start off with car driving. We're both car fanatics. I mean, we could talk for months on straight probably about cars. In fact, I think before we started this podcast, I wanted to have a car review channel. So as far as cars, I guess it would depend on what type of attorney you are, right?
Yeah, I feel like it does depend on what type of attorney you are. I mean, don't personal injury attorneys, they usually like pull up with their Mercedes, their BMWs, whenever they're signing up a client. And I feel like it's effective, right?
Yes. So in personal injury, what I remember when I started off as a prosecutor, then I ended up becoming a insurance defense attorney, doing a little bit of personal injury, and then turned into all personal injury. So I remember walking to the parking garage with another attorney. He was on the other side. He represented the plaintiff, the person that was injured. And then I walked into the garage and I looked at his car and I said, really? An expensive convertible Mercedes? And he said, Alex, so when you go to an expensive restaurant and you order steak, it's just a slab of beef. When you go to the local Ponderosa, it's that same piece of steak, but it's the sizzle that counts. And I remember him talking about that sizzle, and that's something that when the personal injury client sees their attorney, they want to make sure that attorney is more successful than they are. A lot of times it's almost, I call it the realtor scenario. When you meet your realtor at a house, typically the realtor's in a flashy car, they're in something. Another attorney told me, when you're a personal injury attorney, make sure your car is clean. Obviously, you don't want any dents or scratches on it. You want to make sure it's nicely washed, regularly waxed, to make sure it's clean so it doesn't make you look sloppy, dirty, and it makes you look more professional. If you're doing insurance defense work, you don't need that flash because you're being hired by the insurance company to represent one of their drivers that caused an accident. So it's not really important. You're not out there seeking these clients. You could be driving your Camry, your Corolla, your Civic, your dependable cars. The most important thing, as I would say, is regardless of what type of practice you do, is get something that's dependable that runs well. If you get something that's not dependable, you might miss a court hearing. You might be late. That's the most unprofessional thing that'll look in front of your client or in front of a judge or another attorney. So you want to make sure that whatever you have runs well, is safe, and is dependable. But as far as insurance defense attorneys, I see a lot of them. Some of them have really nice, fancy cars. But I think you can get by with just, something that's like a Honda Accord, Corolla, RAV4, anything that's dependable, that's it's not flashy.
Trunk space. I feel like that is a big thing to look for. I mean, I know in today's world, everything's starting to be electronic, everything's digital. So maybe for the old school lawyers like us, we would need the trunk space because we like to keep files. We like to have the physical file. You know, you never know what's going to happen with your computer might break or the system might be down. You don't have internet, so at least you have the paper file for your clients. You got to put it somewhere.
Trunk space is important. We are trial lawyers, so when we go to court, we actually carry in boxes and boxes of medical records. We have to bring the entire pleadings, we bring the entire medical records, and we bring the actual exhibits that we're going to be using, that we're going to give to the judge, that we're going to give to the clerk and the jury, and that we're going to give to the defense attorney. So we have multiple copies of everything. We have multiple copies of the pleadings, the depositions. We bring it all because once in a while you'll have a laptop and the computer or the Wi-Fi in the courtroom might not work. And that happens a lot. And you need to have the actual physical files, especially during trial. They will not stop the trial just because you have a problem with your computer. You have to keep going on. And so that's something that's important because we were shopping for cars one time and we went into the Mini Cooper dealership and we couldn't put our files in the trunk.
Yeah. Don't even bother with two-seaters going to trial. You won't be able to put anything in those.
We've both had or have convertibles, and a lot of times once you put those convertibles down, it gives you no trunk space. So it's not sometimes practical, especially if you have a family and you have to have a car seat also. You might want to have a small SUV at the very least so that you can have the opportunity to have your exhibits, your files, your blow up photographs of the accident scene, or maybe you have to bring a screen or an Elmo to trial to digitize the exhibits for trial. So these are all things to consider.
And so, should you golf? That's the next topic. Oh, I feel like it's a good networking opportunity. You know, a lot of doctors, a lot of other attorneys golf, and it's a way to get to know them and develop a rapport with them.
I agree. There are two things that I see a lot of lawyers doing, and it's drinking and it's golfing. Drinking, obviously, I see them drinking a lot, but golfing is another endeavor that you'll see defense attorneys, you'll see personal injury attorneys. They throw these events where they try to raise money for different causes, and these are really great, noble sponsorships that they'll do, but you'll be around a lot of other attorneys where you're going to need to network with potential clients. You're going to want to network with different attorneys, and a lot of them already know how to play the golf or they're good at it, and so it's good to know at least how to get around, know the basic rules. I remember we bought the Golf for Dummies, I think, or Idiot's Guide to Golf in the beginning. I remember the first time I actually golfed was when I was an attorney already, and I was at a Mike Allstott Invitational, and the first time I hit the ball, I actually hit it backwards. I almost hit the sponsor of the actual event, former Tampa Bay Buccaneer Mike Allstott. At least he's a good sport, so everything was okay. But that's just something you might want to learn to do, so you don't humiliate yourself like me when you're doing it the first time around. And to get back to the car situation, when I was a former prosecutor, I could tell you that as far as cars for a prosecutor or a public defender, no one's expecting anything. So you could come in there with an old beater, such as what I used to drive when I was a prosecutor. I had a beat up car that the muffler was being held up by bungee cords at the time before I traded it in for my next car. But it's definitely something that doesn't matter. So there are some things, some of these contract attorneys, they tell me that it doesn't matter because they're corporate, so a lot of them just find something that's practical, such as a Prius or a Corolla too. So those are all good options also. So there's not a need to always impress with your vehicles.
Yeah, and I mean, you want to get a fuel efficient vehicle. I feel like nowadays, though, a lot of hearings and depositions are all being held via Zoom or video conferencing. So, but, I would still look for a fuel efficient vehicle, especially with gas prices right now. There's something to look into.
And for more content, follow us, hit subscribe. We'll be on Facebook, we'll be on Instagram, we'll also be on YouTube. But if you have any positive comments, please leave them. And if there's any particular topics or issues you want us to discuss, please leave them in the comments. Once again, it's Lao Law Firm. Phone number is 813-505-5602. Also found on the web at www.attorneylao, spelled Lao.com.
And that's it. Thanks for tuning in to Lao Law Firm Podcast. I'm Raquel Lao,
And I'm Alex Lao.
and see you next time.